These are 4 offerings from Limestone Farms in Georgetown, Kentucky. Let's do something a little different this time. I'm Conrad, this is Whiskeybonded, and we're going to mix it up with some samples, which I never do. But I'll tell you why. Stick around. So you guys will very, very rarely see me do sample tastings of anything. And part of it is because I don't have the bottle, I can't read the labels, and I don't have it sitting here. It looks much more impressive if the bottle is sitting here. And nobody wants to see me taste out of little bottles. But I actually got these samples sent to me by Tom over at Limestone Farms, LF Distilling. And he asked me what I thought. So I figured I would just go ahead and do a video on this, taste through them, and kind of tell you, because I have a feeling that Limestone Farms might be one of those names that we're going to hear more and more going forward in the future. These are all distilled by somebody else, but they're building a new distilling facility, and they have a master distiller and a master blender, which seems to indicate to me that they've been doing some distilling, and we might see some stuff coming out from them in the future. So let's just get ahead of it and see what they've got right now, see how it is. So LF Distilling is Darren Darrow, the master distiller, and Andrew Isaacs, the master blender. And there's a couple other names behind it that you might recognize. There's a lot of experience. You can look it up for yourself. But basically, they're a 5th generation family of farmers in Kentucky that currently own and operate a Black Angus farm. So, pretty legit. I like Black Angus steaks, right? I did find out that the bottles say bottled in Georgetown, distilled in Kentucky, and it's very interesting to note that nothing here is less than 6 years old, and I'll get into the age of each of them, what they are, but they're all up from there. So starting over here on my left, your right, is the Bloodlines. This is their entry-level bottle. It is 6 to 9 year old distillate. It's 94 to 96 proof and 78% corn. The rest being 13% rye, 9% malted barley, and it's about a $60 bottle, so it's pretty reasonably priced. Before I get into that, I'll tell you what the other ones are, just so you know what I'm dealing with here. This is the Morgan Family Select, the Morgan Family Small Batch, and the Morgan Family Private Stock. So I have them going from least expensive to most. It also happens to be lowest proof to highest proof. And these 3 are all the same mash bill. This one is an outlier. But let's start with the Bloodlines. So this Bloodlines happens to be 96.1 proof, so on the higher end of what they said the proofs would be. On the nose, I get kind of a candy corn note, some melon. There's some berry notes and a really easy light spice. This is a 6 to 9 year blend. You can taste a little of maturity in there. There's a tiny bit of youthfulness to it. Not sure where that's coming from in a 6-year-old minimum age statement, but a little bit in there. The mouthfeel is good. There are dark fruit notes, a little toffee, some vanilla. A little bit of a cakey sense to it. The finish is kind of caramel vanilla with a little bit of a little warm tingle spice to it. Reasonable length, not super long. Definitely not bad for the price point for sure. Tasty. Nothing really stands out as super unique or different, but really well done, especially at that price point. So let's move on to the Morgan Family Select. So we go from $60 to $100. We also go up to 111 proof. Same mash bill. Also, coincidentally, the same 6 to 9 year age statement. So now the wood notes start to jump out a little bit more. There's a little bit of a vegetal kind of sense to the nose. A little bit of a pear note and maybe some nutmeg spice. So that one's got a cinnamon right off the bat. A little bit of a maple brown sugar sweet pop. The fruit notes are cherry and plum. And the finish is bright with those fruit notes. I mean, a little bit of spiciness coming in at the end. A little cinnamon. Pretty traditional bourbon notes. But a lot of bright fruit. Pretty good. Pretty good. There's definitely an increase. Definitely increase in experience from this one to this one. That's good. I like the extra proof on that. Actually, that's actually a pretty nice tasting experience for the $99 price point. This is the Morgan Family Small Batch. This one now goes up to 8+ years. Same mash bill, 113.6 proof. This bottle comes in now $139. So you get another little price jump for about another $40. So, but do you get an extra $40? It definitely feels like there's a $40 from here to here. Let's just see. Now on the nose, I'm starting to get a little bit of those barrel notes, some char, some of those barrel sugars, some dark fruit notes. On the palate, you can get some more maturity. some tobacco, some plum notes, some darker, richer notes that come with a little more maturity. Not a big noticeable difference in the proof, but definitely a difference in the sense of the maturity of it. I don't know how this goes up to. It says 8 years plus, but I think the dropping of those 6-year blends, the blends in there, definitely does it good. It drinks a lot more mature. It is interesting to note that on the finish, the spiciness comes down and those fruit notes shine a little bit more. They're bright, but the finish does seem to be just a shade shorter, oddly enough, because of that lack of spice. Although the fruit and kind of a sweet tobacco barrel char note does kind of hang around in there in the best possible way, not bitter. Finish is actually surprisingly longer than my first impression. It kind of comes back on you. Without the spiciness, it takes a minute for those notes to kind of come out as the alcohol starts to dissipate. A nice oily mouthfeel to it. Really, really nice. Really, really nice. Definitely another jump in experience there. Now, this last one I'm most skeptical about. This is the Family Private Reserve. It is 113.6 proof, so oddly enough, the same proof as this one. It has the same 8-year plus age statement, but the price jumps significantly to $189. These are supposed to be the choicest barrels. The one thing I did notice that is different about this, that it is the one of the 4 of these that has a different mash bill. I'm not sure where the choice went there or how the coincidence works out that it's also 113.6 proof. But this mash bill is not that same 78% corn, 13% rye, 9% malted barley. This mash bill is 70% corn, 10% honeyed wheat, 10% honeyed barley, and 10% distiller's malt. Whatever the heck that is. I gotta tell you, I do not get any malty notes on the nose. I kind of thought I might. There is immediately kind of a maple syrup, rich sweet note on this with some cherries. It might be my mind playing tricks on me because of all that honeyed stuff, but I'm picking up some honey. And then kind of an herbally, maybe sage, kind of definitely an herbally note, medicinal of some kind, just very, very slight. I would say spice, but it's not baking spices. It's a little bit more, sage or something like that, man. Rosemary, hard. It's so subtle. Okay, so on the palate on this one, that's definitely different. I'm getting raisins and apples. Ooh, some nice bright fruit notes. There's a little citrus, kind of a cinnamon toffee cake. Ooh. There's some nice notes that pop out of that. They really kind of pop out. Really nice sweet notes. You get a little bit of that sweet, I don't want to say cakey, but kind of sweet breadiness of the wheat. Very subtle though. Right at the end of the palate and into the finish, I do pick up on a little bit of that maltiness. Ooh, I like it though. I like it a lot. It's very subtle. On the finish, I'm getting that spicy cinnamon note, but there's some deep maple syrup, cherry. The maple syrup note just keeps kind of coming back to me. I really like it a lot. There's a little bit of a tobacco and wood towards the end there. Man, absolutely delicious. The maple syrup notes in that are really unique. I haven't had a whiskey in a long time that has that type of spot on message of maple syrup note to me. Really, really well done. If it was done on purpose. Man, it's really, really fantastic. Now, I struggle a little bit with the $189 price point, but it is absolutely delicious. That is the best of these, for sure. These go up in experience pretty much with price point, with maybe the exception being, I could almost argue that you could do the $60 over the $100. Going back to that $60 one, I'm getting a little bit of a saltwater taffy kind of note, which kind of comes across as youth to me a little bit. You know, it's funny. I think I actually prefer that slight youthful toffee note over the more spice heavy cinnamon baking spice notes that come on the select batch. It's just funny, in this moment, I'm leaning towards that $60 bottle for some reason. But I will tell you one thing definitively for sure. There is a heck of a lot of promise here. I like what they're doing. It's interesting that they took the same mash bill and made 3 pretty distinctively different bottles. The private stock is really, really interesting. And I'd say if that private stock bottle was $100, $125, that'd be a very compelling purchase. But as a newer, younger distilling company, now blending, obviously a producer. I think moving into the future, we might see some very interesting stuff from Limestone Farms, from LF Distilling, because you can tell that they're trying to do something a little bit different. It's definitely Kentucky bourbon, but there's some uniqueness to this. There's some personal signature in this that really could turn into something not very old as far as whiskey distilling goes. So I'm sure they're still trying to really work out what their forward style and messaging is going to be. I'm definitely going to be paying attention. This one came on the radar really suddenly, and I've seen a little more of it here and there, but didn't know a thing about it before. I'm definitely going to be watching out for it. If you've had Limestone Farms, LF Distilling, if you've had anything from them, please put it in the comments. Shoot me a message. I'd like to know what your thoughts are, where you got it, where you're located at, where you're seeing it at, because I'd be really curious to see as we move forward where those are going to be popping up at. There you go. There's an unusual, out of the ordinary video for me, using 4 samples that were sent to me from somebody at Limestone Farms. They said, just give it a go. Tell us what you think. I like what you're doing over there. I'm very excited to see what happens in the future. For such a young company, I can tell you've already got your own voice, and you're coming with something that I think is going to be unique to Limestone Farms. It's quite possible that Limestone Farms becomes one of those ones that you recognize upon tasting, which is extremely difficult to do. But some of those notes, especially in that private selection, were pretty unique to me, but still on message with that Kentucky bourbon style. There you go. Limestone Farms, LF Distilling. I'm Conrad. This is Whiskeybonded, and this has been one just kind of mostly for me to have a little bit of fun, but I hope you took a little something out of it, and I'd love to hear from you as to your thoughts on Limestone Farms. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and all of that yakety schmackety bullshit, and check us out on the other platforms. Please check out our Patreon, and everything else that's in the links in my bio at whiskeybonded.com. I'm Conrad, and this is LF Distilling, Limestone Farms. I guess it's going to be LF Distilling moving forward. I don't know, but not going to let these go to waste. So I'm going to go ahead and drink all these. You can hang around if you want, but I'm not going to be talking much, so it might get boring. So thanks, Limestone Farms. I appreciate it. Excited to see what you guys are doing in the future. I told you the video's over. I'm not talking anymore. You're just gonna sit there and watch me drink? I hope you're at least drinking something while you're doing this. Go do something else. Flip to the next video. Go watch one of my other videos. Make sure you're liking while you're doing it and dropping comments and stuff too. It's good for the algorithm. Would you go away?